How's it going, internets? I hope you're having a wonderful night. Something a little bit different today. I was talking about this, forget if it was yesterday or the day before. Sometimes the days meld together, but I was thinking about doing more of like a really basic kind of intro to Maya, talk about a couple of the tools that I use on a consistent basis when animating, and try to break it down in a real simple form and just talk about the program itself rather than the walks that I do. I'm not saying they're super complicated, but to someone who's never really used this program, I thought maybe just a real basic intro, just talk about a couple of the tools, and maybe we'll make this kind of a bi-weekly series or something where we'll get in a little more in-depth into doing it. So without further ado, let's get into it. This is Maya 2014. I'll put a link in the information below about the program if you want to check it out. And this is a program that I use to do 3D animation with. I usually like using the 2010 version for a lot of these videos just because it's a little bit simpler and a little more lightweight than the 2014 version. But the 2014 is going to be more of what you're going to see if you download a version of Maya today. There's 2015, I have that as well, and I don't think they put out 2016 yet. I think that'll probably come out later in the summer. But don't quote me on that. Again, I'll have information to Autodesk stuff in the information below. So I guess this is the main viewport window, and this is kind of the default view setting. If you hit the space bar when you're in here, it'll bring up your top, your front, your side, and then your perspective window. And then just hit space bar again when you're hovering over any one of those, and that'll pop you in and out of those windows. Again, if you're watching this video and you're used to my other ones, this is going to be really simplistic and really basic. It's just talking about so that maybe I have a point of reference if people have questions or something in the videos about getting into something, if I don't explain it in depth as well as I could in one of those videos just for the sake of time. So anyways, now that we've got kind of a idea about the viewport, and again, let's go ahead and we'll do create Polygon Primitives. Let's just create a little cube here, and we're just gonna, again, that was create Polygon Primitives, and that's a cube, and then we're just gonna drag along the ground here, and that'll give us the base of it, and then we're going to lift up, and that'll give us the height. Now this is in the wireframe mode, so that would be if you hit the number 4 on your keyboard. So let's switch it over and hit the number 5, and that'll give us a solid here. So there we have our little cube. Let's hit Control A, and that'll give us our channel box, and let's just put it right in the center here. So we're going to zero out these values here just so it's right in the center. Now let's hit spacebar again. And if you see here, this is the top and the front, and again we're just hitting 5 so it's a solid so you guys can see what I'm talking about. And that's the side. So here you go, you have all your windows open. This is your perspective window where you can spin it around, hit the Alt key, and hold the left mouse button to turn and angle things around a little bit more if you want to see from different sides. Okay. So that's a pretty basic thing. Then we're just going to hit W on our keyboard, and that will bring up the little, it's kind of like a locator. Let me see what it's actually named here. It's been so long since I did this stuff. It's the move tool. There we go. And that's just going to allow us to drag. And what I usually do is I hold down the shift button and then left mouse. So that way I'm only moving in one axis, which would be the Y axis right now. And just do Control Z, and that'll do undo, and I'll put it right back where it is. And then let's try that again. Actually, let me pause this for 1 second here. Sorry, just had a little visit from the newest little buddy that we're watching right now. So let me go put him aside, and I'll be right. Okay. And so now that we have that, let's just we'll just click on the little box that we just created. We'll hit the W key, make sure that's going, and we're just going to drag it back and forth. We're just holding the shift key so that it will keep us in exactly one axis, and we're just using the left mouse button to move it back and forth. And now we can do up and down, and let's just hit Control Z, and that's going to undo what we just did, and that'll put it back to that center that we had before. Now let's go ahead and we'll go create another couple of things. Let's do a sphere here. Let's create a sphere. So again, we're going to go ahead and we're going to click and drag on the ground. Now if we hold the shift button here, that'll make it even. So if we were doing a box, it would make it so that each side is equal to each other. With a sphere, it's going to pretty much be the same thing either way, but it'll keep it a little more uniform. So we can create, let's just create a little one here, and let's go ahead and we'll go ahead and put it right in the middle again. And now let's go ahead and take this guy down. Let's delete that, and we'll create a Polygon Primitives cube. Let's just create a base for us to work with, so that way we kind of have a ground plane here. And then we have that little ball, so let's go ahead and raise that up. And we'll turn off this grid here. Sometimes people leave it on, but I usually like to turn it off. It just is a little distracting usually to me. So I'm going to grab this here. Now if you hit the insert key, right there, that'll allow us to take the move tool and move it around so that it's not centered exactly in the middle of the object. And then we can just hit insert again, and that'll allow the pivot point to be wherever we set it. But again, I want to keep it in the middle, so I'm just going to Control Z and undo that. Okay, now that we have that there, let's make it a different color. So we can right click on here on the sphere itself, and let's do assign new material. Go ahead and click that. And I usually use kind of two for most of the stuff that I do. There's Blinn, which is going to be a little more shiny, and Lambert, which is going to be a little more dull. There's also Thong that's used pretty often, but I think for this case, let's go ahead and let's just make a Blinn. And that's going to automatically kind of give us a silver color. But let's go ahead and we're going to go over to Control A into the attribute editor. And let's click Blinn here, and let's click color, and we'll give it a different color. So let's make it just like a dark greenish color. There we go. And let's go ahead and do the same here. We're going to assign a new material to the ground here. So let's go assign new material. Let's do another Blinn here, and let's pick a color here. Let's just make it a little bit darker gray. Just giving you an example of how to try some of the things that I approach in the little videos that I do every day. Okay, so now that we've got that, let's do a really rough animation here, just so you can kind of get some ideas about animating as well, and some real basics there. And I'm talking real basics. So we're just grabbing the sphere here, and we're going to go to frame 1. First, let's set a frame range. We have, let me minimize this here a little bit, because I think my video is going to cut off the edge of the screen, which I want, which is like right here. It's getting cut off there, so I'm going to minimize this just so you can see what I'm talking about here. Okay. In the background, I have some lovely Jean-Gerard Mobius art. Love him. Okay, so we're going to talk about the frame range that we're going to work on. Now, this is the starting frame over here with 1. And this is the frame range that we're currently looking at, so it'd be 1 to 24, but this is the entire frame range. It's 1 to 48 that we have set up here. So if we switch this to 48, that will give us the whole entire frame range of what we're working on. But let's say we wanted to do 60 frames to work with, so we'd switch right over here to 60, but we only wanted to look at the first 12 for right now, so we could take that down to 12. And then we just have the time slider here, which is this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Again, you get it? And that'll just close in on that frame range a little bit more. But just for the sake of what we're doing today, I'm going to switch this back to 48 and 48, and that'll give us 48. And that's frames per second. The usual rate that I do stuff in is 24 frames per second. That's typical animation for what they're working on. If you look at any of the Animator Survival Kit or Illusion of Life or anything, most of that stuff is broken down in a range of 24 frames per second. So we'll this will give us 2 seconds here. And again, these are not really, this is not going to be a really polished thing. This is just basic tutorial stuff. So let's grab what we have here on the sphere, and let's go to frame 1, and we're going to hit S on the keyboard right there. And see this little red ticker right there? That's going to set a frame. So that means that right here, Maya recognizes that on the first frame, it wants that sphere to be right there for this. Okay, and then let's go ahead and let's go 12 frames forward, and let's do shift. And we do have W, so we're on the move tool here. and shift, and we're just going to drag that forward to frame 12. So at frame 1 we set our key there, and since we already set our key, we have auto key turned on, so that's gonna bring that there. Another thing you can do is just move it to frame 12 and hit S as well. So now we have frame 1 and frame 12. Now just to have a really loose bounce here, we're just gonna take what we have. We already have it translating from left to right from 1 to 12. So let's go to frame 6. This is going to be pretty much the middle. And let's raise it up. So we got up and down, up and down. Now Maya is a really bad in-betweener. It's very linear. So we could go in at 3 and have it up a little bit more, and at 9 and up a little bit more. And that'll give us a little more of an arc to that movement. Now, if we really wanted to polish that out, we could go to Window, Animation Editor's Graph Editor, and then we have right here, this is the Translate X, so that's going to be the left to right. Now, with the Graph Editor, what it does is kind of give you a visual plotting of all the different unique points that are keyed in. So this is where we have it starting, and that's where we have it moving. Now with the graph editor right here, you'll see it's kind of like a slow move, then a quick move, and then a slow move. So that's going to translate as well, that the movement is going to do less movement here, more movement, and then less. And that's what they usually refer to as kind of a slow in and a slow out. But let's say we wanted it to translate at a consistent rate, where it was moving from left to right, and all throughout it would be consistent. So what we would do is we would just left mouse button and hold down that, and grab this tangent handle here, do middle mouse button, and let's straighten that out. And then we're going to go to this side here, going to do the same thing, and we'll straighten that out again. And that will give us a consistent rate that it will travel from left to right there. So let's go ahead and watch that. So that's going to be, and that's a consistent movement. Let's just minimize it down to 12 frames that we're going to be looking at. Now, if we undo that and go back to the slow in and slow out, you'll see that there's a difference there, where it goes, switch back to 12, where it goes a little bit slower, quick, and slower, versus if we switch it back to the consistent rate, where it's traveling in a kind of a more uniform speed, everything will hit at the same time. And now let's go into Translate Y here. Now this is a really bad curve, and I'll tell you why, and I'll break it down. You got your slow ins, but then right here, that's not a very good curve, so that's not going to give us very smooth animation. So what we'd want to do is grab this key right here, then grab that tangent handle, and we want to make that look a little bit better here, so it's a nice smooth curve. And we're going to do the same on the other side. If you don't do that, like I said, Maya is not the greatest in-betweener. So it's not going to always give you smooth movement between your keys. So you really want to get in your graph editor and do this. And again, this is a quick animation and really more of a basic thing. So if I was really getting into this, I'd want to do everything on 1s or 2s, which would be every frame or every other frame. Now let's go ahead and watch that now that we clean that up a little bit. And that gives us a little bit of a better arc there. And then what we probably want to do is actually do something a little more akin to that. And we want to not have it slow in and slow out at that movement. So our graph editor, I'm getting stuck in animation mode. I want to keep this more in Maya mode, sorry. But when I see something, I want to animate it and I want to get in there and I want to polish it. And you'll find if you really get into animation that it's hard for you to, it becomes hard to not let animation that's not really polished be attributed to something that you're doing. But like I said, I want to keep these videos fairly simple, so I'm just showing you how I would kind of polish up this curve a little bit more here. Let's try that and see how that looks. That's a little better. Okay. Now let's give us 24 frames, and let's take, make sure we set our key here. Just going to hit S again, and then we're going to go to 24, and we're going to translate that a little bit more as well. And then we're going to go to 18, and we'll raise that up, and that's Shift, and left mouse button will raise that up, but we won't do it as high. So there's a high, and then it bounces down, and it goes a little bit lower. Now we got to be careful that we're not going too low. Now this is what I was talking about Maya, the program itself, not being a very good animator. As you can see right here, first of all, we want to go into our channel box editor, and we want it to bounce back down, so we're going to hit 0 there. But that's not right. We want to make sure that we have that value about the same here. Okay. But since we did not set a key every couple of frames, Maya decided that what it thinks is best, based on the stuff that we did with the tangents here, it decided that an overshoot of our previous key would be desirable, but we don't want that because that's going to intersect into the ground there, so we don't want to do that. So let's go ahead and set a key at 15 here, and let's go ahead and raise that up. And that'll help shorten that, but we're still going to get some overshoot here. So we got to be careful here, so we're going to flatten that out here. And actually, let's go back to 0, just so we have an even number of movement. And let's take this, and now this is a cool little trick. This is what we had at our first frame, but we want to give us one extra frame because that would give us a more balanced animation between what we're doing. So we're going to middle mouse button and drag over to the frame 0, and then let go of the middle mouse button and hit S to set a key. If I was grabbing the right thing here. And that's going to copy that key and put it at 0. And then we can just delete, just right click on that key there and delete that, and that'll make what we had at 1 at 0. So that'll give us that extra frame there. And let's go ahead and watch that. And now we can go back in, and we'll go back into the graph editor here. And we want to move those back so that that was a little more even, and put that back up. And then let's go ahead and go at 21, and we'll favor that up position as well, because on bounce, they usually hold up on the arc for bouncing balls. And then we'll go ahead and bring that back down again. And let's go ahead and watch that now. Now what we're getting here, why it's not really bouncing afar, is because we went ahead and we had our translate X, but it went ahead and it re-smoothed that out. So we want to go ahead and delete what we have here, and we want to make that consistent again. So we're just going to select that key, grab that tangent handle, middle mouse button it down, and the same here, but middle mouse button it up. And we want to, there's a little bit of a slope there, so we're going to polish that out there. And there we go, and that's a pretty straight little translate there. And as you can see, there's still a little bit of dip down. Did we get that? Okay. And again, that's pretty basic, and I would definitely clean that up a lot, but that gives you some idea about what the graph editor does and how to get in there and how to use it, and about translation, and that's going to be the object moving in space. And now there's a couple different things that we can do. This is right now really only going in 2 axes. We have up and down and left and right. Now if this was more of a walk, we would play around with the hips, and we do some left and right or side to side movement as well. And how we would do that is get into the Z axis, and we'd add a little bit there. And actually what we could do, I guess we could do a little bit here, and then a little bit there just to get it. And that would give us a little bit of bounce there. And then, so that's what you want to do too, is you want to, again, to change your perspective, just hold down Alt and then left click. But you want to go ahead and do that so you add a little more 3D space into your animation rather than just keeping it super flat. It makes it feel like, as you can see, it's kind of coming forward at us and it's kind of leaning back. It makes it feel like it's in more of a 3D space. Now, a normal ball wouldn't bounce left and right unless there was some sort of force making it do that, but just for the sake of understanding the program and getting down some of the basics, let's go ahead and do that. And another thing that we would probably do is we add some rotate to the ball. So how you do that, or just grab this and then we get into the rotates and we do like a rotate Z. So we'll go ahead and just crank it a little bit on our rotate Z. Now, since we did hit S on that, it did set a key on all the values, so we're just going to add a consistent rotate. And again, this isn't necessarily a super bouncing ball technical demo. This is more just let's look at different things and how to use Maya with using a reel. And that'll add a little bit of rotate to it as well. But as you can see, by changing the height variation too, you can tell that it's kind of slowing down, so that's definitely something you want to do when you're doing a bouncing ball. And I think I'll probably do a big bouncing ball tutorial at one point too, but this is more of a Maya basics and getting into each and every one of the things that I kind of use. Now, once we're done doing that, let's say this was kind of where we wanted our animation to end. Maybe we could create a background for it. So we do create Polygon Primitives. Let's do a cube, and we'll drag that up here, and then we'd assign another blend here. So assign new material, and let's do another blend, and let's make that color more like a white. Just for some reason, that's what we want. And let's do. Let's pick a different color. This is a color that we've already used, so it's already kind of saved there, so we can just use like a muted version of that. I don't like this color scheme at all, but that's okay. It's just more of a guide here. So let's go ahead and change this over to like a light blue or something. I usually use Lambert's more. I don't know why I decided to use that. It's a little better, I guess. Still not that great. Okay. And so let's say we want to do something so that it would stick out from before, so more of a muted background with more of a popping color in front. And then use the middle mouse to scroll in and out, by the way. I realized I wasn't doing that. Okay. Now let's say this was where we were at and we were done and we were happy with this. So what we'd want to do is we'd want to render and go into batch render maybe at a different time, but we're just doing a simple thing right here. So we're going to render current frame, and that's going to give us a more, once it's done, let's do Maya vector and render, redo previous render, or maybe hardware render. Give it a second. Sometimes rendering takes a little while. Let's zoom in a little bit more so we can see if we can get a better render out of here. Render current frame. That's a little bit better. Still not as smooth as I would like it to be, so let's try doing my software. That's a little bit better. My vector. A bunch of different ways to render things. But we'll just keep it with my software. And then let's say we wanted to light our scene, just real basic light. We do create a light. Let's just do like an ambient light, and we can just put it right over here. And let's render and render current frame, and that would give us a little bit of angled light here. Let's do my plenty of different ways that you can render things. Just trying to find a good angle here. We'll move it a little bit more forward. Getting a little bit too many jaggies there. It's a little bit better. And again, this would just be a basic render. But that would give us more of an image that we could use for like a header or something there. And let's say we wanted to watch it. So we'd right click into our time slider and do play blast. And let's just do, let's call it bad ball animation. And we'll hit play blast or just give it a name. And then we could watch that. And that would give us our little render of that. And this is just a play blast. If you wanted a higher quality, there's lots of better ways that you could do that. But that gives you an idea of how to get into and start doing a lot of this stuff. So I think that's kind of a good place to start with a real basic intro to Maya, just to talk about the different tools and how to use them, and kind of a couple of the ways that I highlight a few of the tools that I use on a consistent basis and do a real basic. Again, this is not a super duper polished animation that I would say is anything sort of finalized, but it gives you an idea of a couple of the tools and how to get started with them. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this. If you do, remember to give me some thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. If you have any suggestions or things that you'd like to talk about at a later time, or that we could get into, or if you have any work that you'd like an extra set of eyes on, definitely let me know. I will definitely throw a link to Maya in the information below, and if you can, grab yourself a copy and get playing with it. It's a great tool. There's tons of stuff. I haven't even mastered half of the things that you can do in this program, but especially if you're an animator, it's really a fun program to use. And I hope this has helped kind of give you a little more of a really basic overview of kind of the tools that I use. Another one that I wanted to show you too that I use before we finish here is the scale tool, and that's R. So you just hit R here and that will increase or decrease the size. So let's see here. Let's say we wanted it to, for some reason, puff up at the top and then go back. Let's make sure we got that keyed here. And the same here, let's have it puff out there and go back for some reason. We just want to scale those back. That was Control A to switch back to the channel box here. And let's zero those out. That's another tool that I use kind of often, especially there's a good way to do it in the graph editor by grabbing, let's say we wanted to minimize all of this. You could grab all of the keys here, hit R, and we could just scale them into each other a little bit more. And I'll probably do another video more on in-depth in the graph editor and talking about tangent handles and keys and different types of tangents to use and everything at some point as well. So let me know if that's something that you're interested in. But I think that's a good, really basic overview of a lot of the tools that I use when I'm doing animating, and I hope it's a lot more simplified version and a lot more clear. I'll also throw a link to a bunch of shortcuts and everything that are Maya standard shortcuts as well. So if you guys need like a handy, you can always print that out and have that next to you while you're learning Maya as well. But I hope you guys enjoyed this. I think that's going to do it for today. I hope you guys have an awesome and wonderful day. Remember, if you do like it, you can always follow me on Twitter at KCTurbos. Subscribe to the channel, throw me thumbs up. I'll try to get as many videos as time permits, aside from the 2 books I'm working on and drawing all the time. So I hope you guys have a great day, and we will see you for some more animation tomorrow. All right, love ya. You guys have a great day.